Welcome back. This is the culprit that got me on the internet. It's an American pawpaw tree that I grew from seed. 3 years ago, I started my food force, and being on a low budget, I couldn't very well afford to go out and buy hundreds of trees. So what is the quickest way for me to start a food forest? I went online and I found this company that sold seeds to quite a variety of fruit and nut trees and shrubs. So I bought most of what fruit trees and shrubs they had that was already to zone 5 and below, because I live in zone 5. And I was walking along one day contemplating my food forest ideals, and I thought about something I learned a long time ago now. The tree line, as you go up in latitude or altitude, is dictated not so much by how cold the winter gets, but by how warm the summer gets. And our main limiting factor here is temperature. We have very cool summers. So I thought I'd better look into that. And I found the data was a little more difficult than you would think. So last year, I did a video on what grows here, annuals. They were much easier to find data for. Perennials I've been working all year. In this video, I'm going to give you what I understand from my research over the past year for how your heat regime will affect what perennials you can grow in your area. This map of Canada has the boreal forest colored in green here. The USDA plant hardiness zones, as you know, is developed according to the lowest minimum temperature that you'll get during your winters. So if I put in the lines for the USDA hardiness zones here, you can see that there is absolutely no correlation between the borders of the boreal forest and the hardiness zone. This pink here, above that is zone 1, above the purple is zone 2, above the blue is zone 3, green is zone 4, blue is zone 5. So down here in the Havilland Peninsula of Newfoundland and the south coast, that's zone 6. However, if I remove the hardiness zone lines and we start by putting in some lines to delineate zones of the amount of growing degree units. I use this website to find about where I should put a line to delineate where it changes between each 100 points on growing degrees. So if I click here, you see I got 793. So what I want to do is find out how far north I have to go for 400. That's 320. 372. So now this would take it to be the center of the square, 372, because that's the average for the square. And now this is 436. So I would estimate that the 400 line will be about at the border of these two squares here. Coming back here to this map, we'll put in our line for 400, and you see how close it matches to the border of the boreal forest. Over here, this little bit going up here, there's a river that runs up here, And there's also another river that runs out of the mountains right here. Now we'll put in a line for 500. It follows inside of the boreal force line. Once again, I don't know if this is exact right here. Over here, the 500 had dipped down, and you see the boreal force also dips down. And this is 600. So the northern limit of the boreal force is somewhere in between 500 and 600 GDUs per growing season. This is in Celsius. Let's go down on the south side. We have 1700, 1600, 1500, and 1400. You would assume, and you would assume rightly, that spruce, fir, and birch, the trees that make up the boreal force, can grow a lot further south than that. But the trees such as oak and maple and beech that's growing in the temperate force, as it gets warmer and warmer, those trees can produce more and more viable seed, and eventually they outproduce the lower producing conifers, and therefore the force changes. Now, when you get over on the prairies, on the other hand, the main reason the tree line ends going south is because that is a area of low precipitation. This is the same as your plains in the States. And as you get further south and you get more warm temperature, the evaporation overcomes the precipitation, and the soil is just too dry for trees to grow down in that area. So now back to the pawpaw. Their native range is in the United States. Let's see if I can bring it up here for you. Right here. Now this base map I got from this website. I found what the growing degree units were at the edge of the obvious change in color. And so I made lines for each one there. So I'll bring up the USDA zones first, and the pawpaw range. Kind of matches a little bit, except for in this river valley over on the west side, on the south side. On the north side, it doesn't match very well. Zone 4 is going up and down, and Zone 5 is way down inside. It's almost up to Zone 4 over here, and right down in the middle of Zone 5 here. When you get over on the east coast, once again Zone 5, Zone 4, and Zone 6 swings northwards. And if you've driven through that area, you'll notice that there's no obvious reason why the native range for pawpaws should cut off in this area. I'll remove that. Now that red line that just appeared, that's 3,000 GDUs. This is in Fahrenheit because we're in the United States. You'll have to divide it by 1.8 to get your Celsius equivalent. And this is 4,000. That dip there, there's a valley that runs down here. And there's a dip in the pawpaw range. And this is 5,000. You note where the 4,000 swings way up here, so does the pawpaw range. Let's bring up that USDA zones again. They go straight across here and across up here, and they're just abnormal swing up. but there's a swing up in the amount of GDUs received. Now let's go down to the south side. I think we're starting at 8700. Yes, so very close match to 8700. And this is 8000, and you can see where it comes up there. You have a strong rise in how far the zone for 8700 GDUs shows up. 8000 GDUs shows up. But we notice here it runs off of the ideal that the growing degree units dictates how far north you will go, and on the west there's a sudden cutoff, which has nothing to do with the amount of growing degree units, and also along this coast. Now remember, on the prairies I said the boreal forest stops extending south because the soil is just too dry. So if I remove the pawpaw range for a minute, take note of this line, state line that runs down here. This is a simplified version of the soil moisture regimes, but here's your state line. The pawpaw range runs right in here, which doesn't explain why it's out right here. Let's pull up this one. Here's a more detailed map of soil moisture levels, and the blues are the wetter moisture, and then it goes to yellow, orange, and to red. On this map, this thin black line here, I've outlined the red, and the thicker one outlined the orange, and then over here along the coast I outlined where the blue is. Now if I transfer that over to this map, I get that. I put back the pawpaw range, and you notice as it gets wetter here near the coast, the pawpaw range stops, and where it's dry right out to the coast here, the pawpaw trees are growing right out to the coast. And up here we have this dry spit coming in here. So you combine the moisture and the temperature regime, and then you get a pawpaw range that looks something like that. So that being said, if I pull up my calculator, make this a little bigger here, and I said the pawpaw range cuts off somewhere between 5,000 and 4,000 GDUs, so we'll just go 4,500 to get the Celsius. Divide by 1.8, and I need 2,500 GDUs in Celsius. If I were to click on my area on this website, it says 1274. So that's about half of what I need to get a fully developed fruit for pawpaw. I don't expect that tree to ever produce fruit. However, it is already to zone 5. It should survive my winters. It will probably grow, and I'll have myself a nice tropical looking tree, but no fruit. If you're growing things that you're not interested in getting seeds or fruit from, so like most of your herbs, you're looking for leaves or bark or roots, then your main concern is, will it survive your winters? then you're going with the USDA plant hardiness zones. But if you're looking for fruit, all plants need a certain amount of heat over that growing season to produce a fully ripe fruit and fully viable seeds. In last year's What Grows Your Annuals video, I suggested that you should be keeping track of the weather data right at your growing area, because the federal weather monitoring stations could be vastly different than your exact microclimate. Over this past year, starting with January the 1st, I've been recording the temperatures. I don't have a rain gauge yet, so the rain gauge I've just downloaded from the government weather station. But the temperatures, these have all been recorded from my sunny plot area for the entire year. I've missed a couple of days here and there, but not very many. So in this column, I just put in maximum temperature, minimum temperature. The computer calculates the mean. I was reading an article and they were going off of GDUs base 0. So this is why I put in these two. This is your daily GDUs base 0, accumulated GDUs base 0. But this is really your first one. This is your cool season crops, or in this case cool season perennials. Daily GDUs base 5 and average GDUs base 5. I copied that page and put in the data from the nearest government weather station, the max and min, and we go over here to our accumulated GDUs base 5, and we can notice right away that I have recorded 1,518.8 GDUs, growing degree units. From the government station, I only get 1,181.75. So that is $15.18.8. 15.18.8 minus 1181.75 equals 337.05. So my garden area got an extra 337 growing degree units as opposed to the government monitoring station. So I've had a little bit of trouble doing this video, but I hope you found it informative, and if you did, hit the thumbs up button for me, and I'll catch you in the next video.